But we have our beautiful guest here with us.
Hey, ladies.
Miss JADE NOVAH in the house. Thank you so much.
Y'all, let me tell you something. I must be out of touch because I had never heard of that song before. And I was Googling it while, we were listening to it. The Morris Day song. And
I think I've never heard that either, actually.
Yeah, like him being cooler than Santa Claus isn't like really much to brag about, right? Because I never looked at Santa like he was that dude.
Right. And I was like, are we making Santa like a real person? I thought Santa was always like your daddy anyway.
You know what I mean? Daddy
what about
Santa.
when you were a kid? Santa was not cool when you were 5?
Cool? No. I don't know that I would call Santa cool.
Well, that's true. I guess not.
Like he was giving. He was a generous man. He was jolly.
You have a point. Right. You have a point.
I wouldn't. So yeah, Morris Day, you gotta aim higher, bro. Like,
oh my goodness. How are you doing?
I'm good. How y'all doing? Come on, queens.
We are good. We are good. Thank you so much.
Browns.
I know, right? My puff, my little puff, my Afro puff. I rock rough and stuff with my Afro puffs. Yeah.
I like it.
Come on, put your bad self.
So thank you so much again for hanging out with us. So I was, of course, I don't know if Yama, but my first, the first time I, heard about you or saw you was the Imitations on online, which I was like, it is so good. Like, how does she do that? But upon further research, of course, I knew you were a singer, but I also didn't know that you were a songwriter.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. So I did not know that. I knew that you were a singer because I think Yama, we did the red carpet on, maybe it was the Urban Music Honors or something. And you sang, I think that, and I don't know if you remember that, but I remember that.
Oh yeah.
Yes. I think it was Melly Fiona. I think that was who she sang. I think.
Oh yeah. It was for the Tamia tribute. It was me, Melanie Fiona, and Kiki Wyatt. We did the Tamia tribute in Atlanta. Yeah. Yes.
So we did the red carpet and we were able to come and watch the show. So I do remember that. Yes. Yeah. And I was like, fabulous. You sounded great. But
I read that you moved to Atlanta back when you were 21 and started songwriting.
Yeah, that's really how I got it. That's how I got my well, I won't say that's how I got my start, but that's what led me to move to Atlanta. And it's funny because the impersonation side of what I do stemmed from the songwriting part. I mean, you ladies are, daughters of music. You understand how like the demoing and stuff goes. So when you're writing a song with an artist in mind, you kind of channel that artist. But I would go above and beyond and like try to sound like these people to really try and sell these records. And I was like, yo, there's something here, like on the impersonation side. So
well, obviously, because it was hilarious. I was like, this is hilarious because she sounds exactly like, especially Beyonce.
I mean,
like exactly.
And even for you to like back in 2013, was it when you did the Diamonds cover on YouTube for Rihanna, got like 11 million views? That was pretty dope.
Thank you. Social media it's a scary ass place, but it can be a beautiful place if you ride the algorithms, the right way. So
exactly. So you started singing in church up here. Am I correct with that?
I don't know why Wikipedia says that. And
not Wikipedia.
Yeah, I did. I saw it on Wikipedia. I was looking at a bunch of stuff. So that was one of the things I saw.
I guess you could say that, but I don't think that I had the traditional like singing in church like some of my peers. Like me, my family, we hopped around. I actually went to a lot of white churches growing up. I didn't really start going to non-denominational Black churches until I was like up in my teens. So I didn't really get that grew up in church singing, foundation, but I did, but later in life.
Well, maybe you said it in an interview and like Wikipedia just took it and ran with it. Because I didn't actually see that anyplace else because there were multiple things. And I was like, well, I don't see this anyplace. I maybe just ask to be sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to find John Wikipedia and see what he's doing. I'm like, bro, but I'll go with it. I mean, I would be in good company if that was my reality. I wish it was my reality. I feel like I would be so much more comfortable with improvising in the music space. Like that's the thing you get from, really growing up singing in church, that feeling that,
Who did you listen to as a young singer? Like saying, once you realized you had a voice, who did you idolize or who did you listen to or,
Tamia. So that's why that, honoring her was such a full circle moment. To me, it was one of my favorites. Brandy, Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston, Beyonce, Stevie Wonder. I mean, obviously Beyonce, like,
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the greats.
And they are great for sure. What do you think? How do you think music has changed from the time that you entered into it until now?
How has music changed? I think that people are less intentional about their process. I think that because everything is so fast and it's information overload, well, I guess maybe they are intentional because they're, trying to create music for TikTok in specific spaces and making it shorter and all these strategic things. But I think because we're maybe being so strategic about how music works in this social media landscape, that we're overthinking the intentional, like as far as getting the reach and the views and the likes, and not being as intentional with the art itself. So I think that the art it's become more microwave, just like almost like
the
fast
art suffers because people are worried about likes.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's just the reality of everything, not just in my industry, but fast fashion. You have all these things. Everything is just so quick. So I mean, it's a casualty that we're all kind of dealing with.
I was listening to your music video, All Blue, and I like your vibe. Because like Heather said, you get caught up in listening to you doing Beyonce or somebody else. And it's like, okay, now what is her, what's her vibe? And so I like it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How was the process for you creating like your own music?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's something I've always done. And I create with my husband. He's my producer. Shout out to Devin Johnson. It's been beautiful finding my creative match, because I have the ability to just whatever comes to mind, because he's a musician, like he can just bring anything to life. So it feels like everything that we do is just a labor of love, and I can kind of create at my leisure because we work from home. So the process is very organic, just easy because I'm doing it with my guy.
So you had a stint on as far as doing basically radio, kind of what we're doing. Yeah. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Like, what has that been? Because we've interviewed some radio personalities and I did not know the game was that tough. So what was your experience?
It was different because for one, as a creative, I'm used to creating on my own terms. Just like I mentioned, I work with my husband, so I can kind of curate the energy around me. So working in that space, I don't have that kind of control. It was morning radio, so I was up at 3 a.m. every day, and then still balancing family. I'm a mom and trying to be present for everyone, but literally being drained. Still touring on the weekend. So I would literally do the show Monday through Friday. And then after it was over, fly out, do 3 cities over the weekend, and then fly back in time to make my 4 a.m. call time. And, I think that under different circumstances and different energies that it could have been it could have been a better situation, but I'm grateful for what it did. And I'm grateful for the learning experience. But overall, I think that format for me, I just didn't enjoy being censored or, having to fit into a certain mold that was expected of me in such a very, niche demographic. So, I think if I ever go back into that space, it would have to be something more like this, or podcast where I can cuss without worrying about the dump button and, just existing without having to be in my head so much. And then to be able to focus and highlight the things that I want to, that's important as a creative. So
just because this is more, it's considered radio, but it's still like podcast format. And I don't think that I don't know if you do, Yum, but I know that I don't think about the fact that if it was regular terrestrial radio, we could not say half the stuff we say on this show, or even the topics that we choose to talk about.
Well, that's part of it. I was doing that thing with not V103, what was 104.1, but of course I was talking about COVID, right? The whole health thing. But I mean, even still, like, it's certain things that you don't want to say, and you got to be mindful, because when you're on somebody else's platform, they may have certain moral clauses or sponsors or people you can't talk about. And you get censored. And so if you're trying to be a creative spirit, which obviously you are, it's tough to be in that box, you know.
You articulated that so perfect. That's what I meant to say, Heather. Exactly. That's why she got nothing in front of her name. You are a learned woman. That's exactly right. Like it is. There's people who have vested interest in the things that you do and say when you're dealing with a platform that has sales and ads and like you said, company with a specific moral compass and all that. So
so how did you deal with COVID and get through COVID? Like what was your experience? Because I mean, for creative people, like outside of like Yama and I had to pivot and basically do our shows from home because we couldn't come in, and we're both like creative and used to being on red carpets and, you know, bumping, you know, moving and shaking and meeting people and having people. We couldn't do any of those types of things and heavily into music. So how did it affect you? Because entertainment was basically grounded completely.
It was shut down. And it's crazy because I had just released my second album and we were getting ready to tour. Like 2 days after the shutdown was supposed to be the first city that we toured. So everything shifted. But for me, because comedy is something that was really bubbling in me that I hadn't really taken to the next level, like being in that, being during that shutdown, I was able to refocus my energy more into that space and really grow that out. I actually auditioned for SNL during that shutdown period. It was crazy. Like they had reached out to my agency. I made it to the test week. It was like a several month-long process that happened during quarantine. And it ultimately didn't end up working out. A lot of it had to do with the COVID stuff, but it was affirmation for me to like really start taking that part of my artistry seriously. So things that were like a 5-year plan for me suddenly became more of a focus. Like I've always wanted to do a variety show. I've always wanted to create that sort of a space that highlighted all these different parts that of my artistry that I want to do, the music and the writing and the comedy. So I got to sit down and really focus on writing that, creating it, and it's finished. I worked my ass off during that break. And so it was good for me. It really helped me to reprioritize and create things that allowed me to have more control, because just doing music, like you said, everything shut down. And I don't like that feeling of not having control over my stuff. So
it's funny. It made all of us kind of, recenter and like you said, focus your time on things that really matter, right? Things that you can do. And also, like you said, or learn something else. I know Heather, same thing. Heather is a musician that travels.
And I was like, oh,
there was no traveling. So Heather, you got your real estate
license. I got my real estate license. I was like, well, let me not just sit at home and do nothing because I can't gig. Because I'm used to gigging, like I do like the corporate market. So I gig every weekend with, parties, 400 or 500 people. Well, that was the end of that. And so I was like, well, I always want to do that. I've always thought about doing it. So I felt like, the message should be really the things that you think about doing, the things that you say you're passionate about, that you never took the time to actually do. Now you have the time, like you really have the time. And so, I feel like I think a lot of people really focused on that. I think that's why people are having a hard time getting people back into the job market, because some people are like, like I always wanted to do such and such. So let me try to do this now that I have an opportunity to do it. And I think it's unfair when people label like, oh, they just don't want to work. No, they just might not want to work for someone else, or they might be really chasing their dreams at this point because there was some downtime and they weren't in the rat race of I got to be at work at 8 to 5 and pick up my kid at, all these different things, that they had time to actually focus and say, hey, let me try this. This is my opportunity. So I definitely get that, because I think there was good and bad, of course, a lot of death, a lot of sadness, but a lot of refocusing, recentering, changing directions. And, so I think it was good for some people if you took advantage of it.
Absolutely. And I love what you said, because I think that my generation gets a lot of heat for like being very happy focused, like we're big on toxic and energy and all these, words and things that we're just learning about. And it's like, no, there is no shame in refocusing your energy on things that make you happy and that feed you. Because we grew up on this narrative that like it didn't matter if you were happy or not. You had to work and you had to show up and everything had to be such a grind, especially as women, you know, like everything has to be such a sacrifice and a this and a that. But I think this is a beautiful shift where people are really choosing themselves in a way.
Yeah.
So tell our listeners, before we get out of here, tell the listeners what you have coming up next and where they can find you on social media platforms.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys, you can find me at Jade Novah, JADENOVAH, all over the place, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of that. And yeah, I'm working on new music. I just put out a single in October called I Just Want to Know. And I'm ready to release a remix at the top of the year. I'm really excited about it. And just new music up until the project comes out. And on NBC, I'm on this new show called That's My Jam. It's Jimmy Fallon's variety show. It's like a music and comedy variety game show. So basically we're hosting like celebrity game nights. And it
Congratulations.
Girl, I loved it so much. We shot 6 episodes. So they're going to be every Monday starting on the first Monday of January on NBC. So I'm grateful.
Congratulations. That's so exciting.
That's dope. No one deserves it more. So, you know, we've been following your career for a while. And so congratulations. And thank you so much for coming on the show and chatting with us. Hope you come back and maybe you can come in studio and you can host. We talk about all kinds of stuff and then you can really say what you want to say on here. So,
because I know what your Instagrams are now.
Well, thank
definitely
you so
say
much.
what I want to say. So I definitely wouldn't work on.
We know, and sometimes I'm like, oh my God. But actually, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We're going to go out with your new single, I Just Want to Know by Jade Novah, guys, and we will be back.
Yay,
thank you, Miss Jade. Have a good holiday.
Ooh, bye, y'all.
Bye.